He's one of the most recognizable faces in Canadian sports, and he's not even an athlete. Nav Bhatia is the guy that you see courtside at every single Raptors game. And if you've watched a Raptors game over the last few years, and who hasn't, you've seen Nav Bhatia there. Recognizable with his bright white turban, his exuberance for the Raptors and the game, cheering on the team that he loves so well. We recently had a chance to sit down and talk with Nav Bhatia about his new book, The Heart of a Superfan. It details how he started his love affair with the team, their rise to championship status, and him even getting a ring. But we also talked about the parts of the book where he describes coming to Canada, his journey here, his love affair with this country, despite, well, some pretty harsh experiences when he first arrived. Enjoy the conversation. Thanks so much for the time today. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
So let's talk about your love affair with the Raptors. We'll go back in time after that, but you have never missed a Raptors game. You don't leave early, and you're never late, you say.
Well, that's true. 29 years and never been late and never left a game early. Doesn't matter how the game is going or when, but never left a game early.
I'm one of those people that does not like to leave early, and sometimes you're with a group and everyone's saying, oh, let's leave early, let's beat traffic, oh, the game stinks. I hate leaving early.
I agree with you. I agree with you. It's disrespectful to leave the game early. Doesn't matter what is happening on the.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. This year, really, was it, were there times where you thought, oh, wow, I'm watching a real stinker here. I want to leave.
Well, do you leave your kids when they are stinking, when they're not doing well? Do you leave them or you give them more support? That's the time you have to give more support to that team, which is like a family to me, and you have to show more loyalty. You don't be there when you're winning the championship. We have been blessed that we won the championship in short 25 years. There are teams like Indiana and even Denver and Sacramento who have been there for the longest time and had few good stars in their team, but have never been able to win a champion. So we are win a championship. But, we are blessed that we have won the championship and we are in a rebuilding mode. So the team needs the support more than ever. But I'm used to it. I've seen a lot of lows and I've seen highs also during our championship time. So you cherish the high time when you have been already there during the low time, and that's what I do.
You have some incredible endorsements on your book. Larry Tannenbaum, one of the key owners. Vince Carter, and I understand you're going to be with Vince Carter when he's inducted into the Hall of Fame. How did you end up being so well known? Were you always sitting courtside, or did that come later?
Well, that came later, but I was always very energetic and cheering on my team. And that's when our President Isaiah Thomas at the time noticed me, and one day in 98-99 season just called me down to the middle of the court in Sky Dome and said, you're going to be the face of the team as a Superfan. And that's when all the story started as a Superfan, and I became the face of the Raptors.
Well, having been down in the good seats, having been up in the last row, I've sat everywhere in Scotiabank Arena to watch the Raptors play.
And all the seats are good seats there.
There are, but you can
put
see...
a better seat in the Scotiabank Arena for the Raptors.
You can see Nav as well as the players from anywhere in the arena. And for people that haven't experienced you, you and I have never met. I don't even think we've stopped to say hello and shake hands, but I've walked past you at many games. And the weirdest experience was I'm in the men's room and you walk in and, the urinals are full and guys are pulling out their phone saying they want to take selfies with you. And somebody has to say, hey, wait a minute, we're in the men's room. Do that outside.
Yeah, that happens a lot. In the washroom, people want to take a selfie. I said, at least come outside a little bit. Let me wash my hands and let's come outside and take a selfie. But that happens every time I'm in the washroom there. That's what happens.
You are crowded and surrounded every time. It's why I haven't come up to you. But now that we've done this interview, next time I see you at a game next season,
I'll come over and say hello.
Please,
So
please, it will be my pleasure to meet you.
how did you develop a love affair of basketball? Because my understanding that was not something that you grew up with. First off, tell us your backstory, where you grew up and when you came to Canada and how you fell in love with basketball.
Well, I'm from India, and I came here in 1984. And from 84, when a new immigrant comes, it might be from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, wherever they're coming from, their first goal is to put a roof on the roof and bread and butter on the table. So roof on their head, bread and butter on the table, and that's what we do. That's what I did. I just struggled. I couldn't find a job as a mechanical engineer. So I cleaned the toilets and I became a janitor. I did painting because I had to make my ends meet, and that's what I did. But later on, I found a job as a car salesman in Rexdale Hyundai, and that was the beginning. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, it was not an easy time looking for a job. Nobody wanted a Sikh guy with a turban and beard as a engineer. And so I did all the odd jobs to make my end meet. And I had,
They want a Sikh guy with a turban and a beard as their salesman at the car dealership?
well, let me tell you, I did get the job. And it was the weirdest way of getting a job. I had interviewed at that place few weeks earlier, and I got a call from the manager on Saturday morning, and he says, well, if you still want the job, why don't you come 8:45, because they start the showroom at 9 o'clock. You come, and I tell you one thing, that day was the quickest I think I did the turban tying and getting back to Rexdale, because I used to live in a basement in Malton. And when I came there, I was so excited because I was going to start a new career, car salesman in the new country. But that was my lowest day also, because 9 other salespeople who were Caucasian, they made so much fun about me when I entered the door. They called me names which I could hear. They called me underwear head, towel head, packy, and all those kind of names. So I was that was my lowest day in Canada. And on that day, I prayed to the Almighty and said, I got to be better than good if I need to survive in this environment. And you know what? I went on the floor to sell the cars, 127 cars in 3 months. It was a record then, and it still is a record. So that's how my start was. And moving forward, I became a manager and all that. And now, with God's grace, I own the same dealership, Rexdale Hyundai, and I have another 4. So I have 4 Hyundai and Genesis dealerships. So that's how, I started and, my career in Canada.
But let me ask you, in India, did you grow up with basketball?
No, we had cricket. Cricket is the game there. Basketball is not that much there. Very rare at that particular time. It's picking up now, but at that time. And, I come here in 84 for the first 10 years. I'm just working, 110 hours a week. And, got a home and everything. And in 95, when the Raptors came, I was comfortable. I had a nice job. I was the general manager of Mississauga Hyundai, and I had a home and couple of cars. And so I was working. So I had no hobbies. So I said, let me try. I used to watch basketball on television, and I used to watch Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Dr. J, and all that. And I said, hey, let me try 2 tickets. So I bought 2 tickets to just try out basketball. And I tell you, that basketball, the first game, I fell in love with that game, and that was the most entertaining game. It was like 2.5 hours. You are in a different zone. You have no stress. You have nothing. You are just enjoying the way the NBA has designed this game. It's the most entertaining game on this planet. And here I am, 29 years later. I'm still in love with the game and looking for the 30th season to begin, which is going to be an exciting year.
Well, let's get more into the Raptors in a few minutes, but I want to ask you about something you said a moment ago. Your darkest day was your first day starting at Rexdale Hyundai.
Yes.
You describe in the book that there were dark times like this. Did you ever think, I made a mistake and I'm going back? Because I'll tell you, my mother would never leave Canada now. But when I was a kid, she took me and my younger brother, back to her mother's home in Glasgow. And I celebrated my second birthday there. I thought it was a trip. I found out later on my mother was just moving there because she didn't think she could handle Canada. And it was so tough. And there's so many immigrants have that experience of, did I make a mistake coming here? Did you ever have those moments where you said, should I go back? Or did you go back?
No, I never thought that. I don't have a reverse in my car, on this car, on my emotions car. I moved forward. I had to find a solution to it, and I did. And funny enough, all those guys who made fun of me, I started mentoring them how to sell a car later on. So you know what? They perceived wrong. Let me share an incident with you where a customer came and he didn't want to deal with me. He wanted to deal with a normal salesman, a Caucasian salesman, as if I was not normal. So I let my manager say, hey, you let him deal with another guy, but when it comes the time for delivery, I want to deliver the car to this guy. He was a Caucasian guy buying a car for his daughter, came on Friday, and I was the one who was going to deliver in the car. And you know what? I made sure that the car was, I had a bow on the car, I had a balloon on the car. Even I was not getting paid on it. I didn't want to get paid on it. I just wanted to make sure that I change this guy's perception about the Sikhs. And I delivered him the car, and I treated him like a silver dollar, and he was very happy. And later on, he sent me a lot of customers. So I changed what he was perceived about the salesman. I think sometime when the unknown, when you see somebody you never, know what's there. He didn't know what is turban, what is beard, what is our religion and faith, but he knew later on, and he sent me a lot of customers. So I changed his perception about the Sikhs. And that's what I've been doing for the last 39 years since I've been in Canada.
Very personal question for you here, but having known a lot of Sikhs over the years, I know that at one point in time, and I don't know when it changed, but there used to be a lot more Sikh men. They'd come to Canada and they'd say, okay, well, I'm in Canada now. There's not a lot of people with turbans. There's not a lot of people with beards. I'll blend in. I'll cut my hair. I'll get rid of the turban. I'll shave. Was there pressure to do that? Did you ever think that?
Oh, yeah. You know what? A lot of people who came with me migrated at that time in 84. They all told me, now you're not going to survive here unless you shave off. But I had, if you have read my book, you will see, I made a commitment to my mother when I was 16 years old. And in 1968, I made a promise to my mother that I won't cut my hair, I won't smoke, and I won't, I will always wear a turban, and I won't drink. And I kept those promises. And actually, that's why this book is dedicated also to my mom, whom I committed that, and my movie, which came earlier 2 years ago, my documentary movie. And that was also a dedication to that. So no, I never thought that. I mean, I never thought of cutting hair or all that, but I blended into the mainstream. I'm most blended. I think you have, just like you said, when I'm in the arena, I get every time I go to the game, I take 300 to 400 pictures. What is I'm so well blended with everybody. Nobody looks at my turban. They all look at the Superfan giving me hugs. The last game, I had a young girl, couple of young girls, Caucasian girls, blonde girls from Newfoundland, and they said, we came here just to see you, and can we hug you? I mean, that's what blending is.
It's I have to say, immigrants from wherever they come from face challenges. Even if you speak English, you face challenges blending in, acclimatizing to the new culture. But you did face extra challenges because of your appearance, because of the turban, because of the beard, because of the unknown, as you called it. It's a challenge for all, but you did face extra challenges and you overcame them.
Yes, I did. I'm very strong inside. My faith tells me to be strong inside, and my parents were strong. So, I could, I think the main thing I was doing was I was always pulled myself out of the comfort zone and go into the unknown, into the uncomfortable zone and blend in there. And that's what every immigrant should do. When you come in, make sure, don't be scared. If your neighbor is a Jamaican or is a Irish guy or whatever, share your culture with them and learn their culture. And because deep inside, I always say 99.999% we are all same inside. And look at that. I mean, you have seen firsthand how much love I get. I mean, in the arena or wherever I go to Tim Horton. I was in the Tim Horton earlier today. I took 6-7 pictures and, people giving me love, trying to buy me coffee and all that.
It is remarkable. So you come here and you don't really know basketball. And I'm thinking of my own father. Didn't know hockey when he came to Canada. It was a foreign sport to him. What's this game on ice? He did go ice skating as a kid, but he never played hockey. He didn't know baseball. Became great fans of both of those games while he was still with us. And it was a joy for him to learn them. So have you gotten into hockey before we get back to the Raptors? Have you gotten into hockey or baseball, the Blue Jays?
You know what? I understand hockey, but I don't have the time to watch, to go into hockey. Believe me, with watching every basketball game and then watching some on the television, I tell you, if I start watching hockey and baseball, I will be definitely divorced. So far, I've survived a divorce. But I will definitely be divorced. So no, I just watch them. I watch hockey when I'm in the playoffs, when I'm invited usually a couple of times to a hockey game by the MLSC. So I go there when there is a baseball games, in the playoffs. They invite me. The Jays invite me there for a game, so I go there. I love all the sports. I go to the when Mike Pinball invites me for the football, CFL, I go there. So I go, I respect every sports. And I think sport is a very important part of our getting together to be one love, it's very important. So it doesn't matter what sports you are connected to. I think it's important that we have our kids connected to the game of any sports. But for me, it's basketball because I feel it's the most entertaining and the best game on this planet.
I had to laugh when you mentioned the divorce part, because more than once, as I've heard you tell your story, I thought, his poor wife. Does she go to many games with you? Do your children go to the games with you?
Well, that's a different story. That's she used to go to few games with me because Iverson was her favorite player. But about 15, 16 years ago, a while back, that something happened. It was my wife has an arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, very severe. So she has an artificial, a lot of artificial stainless steel bones in her body with the ankles and the hips and the knees and all that. So one winter time, there was a game in February and it was minus 25 or 28 outside, and she was at the game. And my parking at that time was outside where the CIBC building is now. That's where I used to park, outside in the cold, in the snowy days. So, we were losing by 10, 12 points. And she says, and it was 2-3 minutes left. And she said, now I'm going to go outside to the car and I'll see you in the car. I said, okay. And the game, Lord behold, went to 2 overtimes. And when 45 minutes later, I went to the car, she was frozen. And I told her we won the game and all that. And on that day, she said, you didn't care about me that I was outside. I said, when I'm at the basketball game, I don't think about anything but the game. And on that day, she promised me that she will never come to a game with me. And she kept her promise of not coming to the game with me.
But she hasn't divorced you yet.
She hasn't divorced. My marriage is hanging by a very thin strings, but it's still there.
All right, Nav, we're going to take a quick break. When you come back, I do want to talk to you a bit more about the Raptors, about watching players develop, pinning your hopes on them, and sometimes having the hopes dashed. We'll get into all of that when we come back. I've considered myself a fan of various sports teams over the years. I love to point out that my family was at the founding of Glasgow Celtic Football Club in the 1880s, and my uncle still goes to matches for that game. But being at every single home game ever, That is quite something. So let's go back to your association with the Raptors. You say Isaiah Thomas spots you, says, we're going to make you the face. Did you ever think when that started that you would end up with a championship ring?
Oh, no, you don't, you just, you think that you will one day maybe win a championship and you will be part of the championship parade and all that. But, like I said, a lot of teams, they have been there for 40, 50 years and they still have not won a championship. It's very hard to win a championship in any sports, especially in basketball where the competition is so great, So no, but I never thought of that. I was just, so feeling high that I'm the face of the NBA through a Raptors, and I was just, high and I was enjoying myself and all that. And I thought that now everybody knows me and all that. But you know what? I still had speed bumps sort of ethnically even after that, even after I became the Raptors superfan. But no, you never, I knew we will win it, but I didn't know that we'll win the championship that quickly in 25 years because the record shows that there are a lot of teams for such a long time, they have never won a championship.
So that was 2019. The championship was won. The scene here in Toronto, the night of the win, was madness. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, but I was out in the streets for part of it, and I thought, wow, this could go sideways very quickly. Thankfully, it did not. There was, a hiccup at the parade with some yahoos off to the side getting involved in a shooting, but that was on the periphery.
Luckily, there was no bad news, and it was handled. There was a couple of guys fainted also. A kid got fainted and all that. But overall, with 2.5 million people on the sides of the roads and all that, and the biggest parade ever in the history of any sports, we were blessed and lucky that nothing negative happened.
Now, in 2020, I thought the Raptors had a good chance at repeating. Obviously Kawhi left. Kawhi Leonard decided to head home to LA and the Clippers, where he hasn't had the success he's had with the Raptors, but he's back home. So I wish him no ill. But then COVID happened and the bubble happened. So you couldn't be at home games then. But I want to ask you about watching that team. Did you think in 2020 they had a shot at a repeat?
Yeah, well, if Serge, would have kept there, they were trying hard, and Raptors tried very hard to keep Kawhi, at least for another couple of years. They tried they gave him everything, and he would have been the king of Canada rather than of a prince of a city there. But that's what his decision was, and nothing happened with him either, and nothing happened with us either. So sometime we had a very good mix at the time with the team we had at that particular time. That was an amazing team if you think about it. But you know what? That's the past. We are moving forward. We will build up another team like that sooner than later.
Are any of the young bunch in the Raptors catching your eye now? I look at players like Malachi Flynn, and I think there's still so much potential there that hasn't been tapped yet. Scotty Barnes obviously doing incredibly well. Grady Dick finding his feet.
We have a lot of, let me tell you, we have with Messiah and Bobby Webster being the in charge there at the Raptors. I think we are in good hands with the new coach also, Darko. I believe with the new culture and everything, I think we are going to be good. We have a good foundation in Bonds, and we have a good foundation in Quickly, RJ Barrett. You have a Portal going to be healthy. We had a lot of injuries this year also, And though, every team gets through that, but we had a lot of injuries at the wrong time. But I believe that next year coming, you're going to have a very good season next year. And they're going to, I believe, get some more additions of the players and all that. And, I'm very proud of what Masai and Bobby Websters have done for the Raptors. And I have a lot of faith in them. And I believe we are going to be back in the good shape starting next year.
You are incredibly optimistic all the time, aren't you?
I am. I mean, hope is the thing which God wants us to live on. And that's what it is. And also practically, I do believe that we are in a good, a good shape. I mean, our fans were still there. We had so many sellouts. And I believe that with a little bit of tweaking and all little hard work in the summer, you see that we are going to be having a very good season next year.
What are your feelings about the way Canada has changed since you came here, since you immigrated in 1984? Are we coming together better? Are we starting to divide again? I sometimes worry about that with people being divided, and we see protests in the streets now. We see people being angry at each other. I think for the most part, our country has been good at bringing together different cultures, but there's cracks there right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? Canada doesn't control the political situation outside of their borders, and unfortunately, it takes, people bring the politics of the other places into this beautiful country. I mean, I always say, Canada, if there is a heaven on this earth, it's right here in Canada. And yes, you are right that we might have little cracks and all that. But overall, I tell you one thing, we still live from 1984 to now, which is 40 years ago. I think the things are very good now. People respect and love each other overall. You saw in 2019, 2.5 million people on the street. Did you see all kind of people on the street loving and hugging each other? That was Canada. That's what Canada is. These are all temporary things, and I pray to Almighty that all these things, the war stops and everything will be back to normal. Everybody has to treat people like they want to be treated themselves, and treat with love and respect. And that's what I'm going to just continue telling the people about it. And yes, there are going to be some speed bumps, but that's what life is all about.
In other parts of the world, Larry Tannenbaum on the back of your book says that your book will remind you of the power of sports to connect us all. In other parts of the world, that's not always the case. I mentioned the soccer team my family supports. There are pitched battles, angry battles at that. I think we're blessed not to have that in Canada, but what do you think the difference is between how we do it and how they do it in other places?
Well, I believe that Canada is very unique. We are the envy of the world overall. That said, yes, we have a lot of still work to be done. Like you said, there are some cracks here and there, but I think we should look at the bigger picture. The world wants to learn from us. If they don't want to, that's up to them. But at least I think in Canada, we are far ahead. Look at our country south of us. What is the divide there? So big, and the divide is going bigger and bigger. That worries me. But because deep inside we are all the same. This politics sometimes pulls us apart, and I think if we go more towards the human line, it will bring us together. Treat everybody like you want to be treated yourself, irrespective of anybody's religion, gender, color, or whatever it is. Treat it, and you will see we're going to become a good society. We're going to become a better country and a better world.
Well, Nav, I want to thank you for your time. As I said, you are perhaps the most positive person that I've spoken to, and I don't need a Hyundai now, but when I do, I will come see you.
I guess it's, that's right. Anything I can do, but when you meet me next time in the arena, make sure come and let me know, and give me a hug. And always, I'm going to request you, I'm getting older, keep me in your prayers.
Will do. And we'll do the selfie outside of the bathroom.
Hey, that's right. And we will do that. Maybe we'll do it on the courtside. I'll bring you on the courtside and we'll do a selfie there. How about that?
Thank you so much, Nav.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
Full Comment is a post-media podcast. My name's Brian Lilly, your host. This episode was produced by Andre Prue with theme music by Bryce Hall. Kevin Libin is the executive producer. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and help us out by giving us a rating, leaving us a review, and telling your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I'm Brian Lilly.